Hey there, it's Stefan Angelini here on Thursday, 9th of February for another economic update. Today, we're going to talk about a bit of happening between Australia and China. We're going to focus on inflation and what's driving inflation. And we're also going to talk a little bit about some energy companies and just how much money they are making. So bear with me as we get into it. First off, the Australian market kicked up yesterday after some comments from Fed Powell about how their jobs numbers shouldn't really impact on their RBA or their cash rates. But the rest of the world has been down overnight, so we'll see what happens to the Australian market today. In news, let's start off with a bonus and with on a bit of a positive note. So China and Australia, our trade relationships is getting better ever since 2020, 2021 and the COVID issues. We have had massive issues with China and trade, but finally coal is starting to arrive back on China's shores. So on Wednesday, the first big shipment should arrive with another three shipments on their way at the moment. So that's a really good industry, really good news for our coal industry, and anything to do with coal is good for Australia because they make a heap of money, pay a heap of tax. But basically there's been issues around timber, barley, lobsters, and even wines, where basically China has cut off a lot of those imports for those kinds of products. So hopefully these renewed relationships can mean we can export a whole lot more to China. That will help keep our economy out of recession, which we hope for. A lot of big news around Australia, around inflation and what's happening with inflation, just how bad is it going to be. But inflation is obviously an issue. And a lot of people are basically thinking it's going to keep rising. So as rising costs flow on to the consumers, it's going to be a continual issue for Australians. Some reports from some of the big companies around the way. Most importantly, these big companies such as Boral, Amcor, and the other one is Suncorp have come out and reported massive increases in revenue, mostly on the back of inflation, they're saying, and they're not saying it to stop too soon. So just to give you a bit of background, Suncorp have said that the cost of insurance premiums has increased a lot, meaning their revenue has increased. Amcor, who produce packages, has said inflation has been a big contributor to them. And then Boral, their CEO, has come out and said, we don't see inflation stopping too soon. And then to added pressures with that, they've got issues with construction, and they've got issues with finding staff and the whole wage issue that's playing on Australia. To go into the energy sector a bit more, Macquarie has released a report saying they still believe iron ore is a great sector to be invested into, even though a lot of the other energy, I guess, sectors have done a lot better over the most recent times. They still see iron ore as a really great asset to hold, especially as Australia and China firm up their relationship and start getting back to normal trade. With the China opening up, hopefully it's a really good opportunity for Australian companies, some of the big companies you see in Australia who are massive iron ore producers. But as you go around the world, big oil companies face a lot of scrutiny after their profits have jumped to record levels. So company examples, BP, Chevron, Exxon, Shell, and Total Energies, those few companies have recorded a total of $200 billion in profits in the last 12 months. Just to give you an example, that Total Energies has doubled their profit in the last 12 months. That's on the back of Russia's sanctions and not being able to get oil out around the world. So it means that these companies can really capitalize on the whole demand and supply factors. So they're under pressure to do a little bit better. A lot of you would have heard of the company Amazon. Amazon has become a big buck again. So it's now hit the $1 trillion club yet again. Finally, tech stocks have rallied back to where they were a little while ago. They came off about 50% last year, but Amazon alone is up 18% in this calendar year, so for Jan-Feb, and is now tipped as a $1 trillion company yet again, so one of the most valuable companies in the world. Now, remember, they didn't pay dividends or make a profit for a very long time, but now they have a huge market cap. So that's a bit of economic news from around the world. Just finishing off with anyone that's impacted by the Turkey-Syria earthquake. Thoughts are out with you. There's just been recorded 11,500 deaths over there. So a big issue, and thoughts go with anyone out there. Right, that's it for me today. Thanks a lot for listening. Really appreciate it, and all the best for the day. See ya.